Hello, everyone. I'm Yaxing. So I'm here presenting our paper on behalf of my colleagues at a couple universities, then especially the first author. She was not able to be here because she just had a baby, so for good reasons. So to begin the talk, first of all, I would like you to imagine you're finding information about privacy online. So here are you, and then you go to Google, you search for something about how does my phone use my data. And then you get a bunch of things here. Some kind of privacy policies, labels, some privacy related news. And let's skip the discussion of the usability. Let's just assume they work very well. You learn something from that. Then imagine this process again if for a user who have different kinds of visual impairments, blind user, low vision, and suddenly you're gonna notice that all information are gone. Because all the visual cues are gone. It becomes very difficult for them to access because most of the ways to show privacy information are through visual elements. And then when the visual cues are gone, then it's very challenging for them to access such information, which may further create unequal access to privacy information, and they expose them to greater privacy risks. So in this research, we want to focus on blind users and low vision users, and we ask ourselves, can we make privacy information more accessible to blind and low vision users? And we use BLV users for the rest of the talk. Can we also build accessible privacy tools for BLV users? As computer scientists, we're gonna say, well, sure, we can, but we want help, but we quickly find that unfortunately, we don't have a lot of understanding about BLV user community especially regarding how they seek privacy information. So the motivation of this research, that's basically the motivation of the research. And we took a step back and to look at literature, and we asked the following 3 research questions. How do BLV users perceive and mitigate data privacy risks associated with digital technologies? What are BLV users' information-seeking behaviors around data privacy? And what do BLV users expect from potential privacy tools for navigating data privacy information? To answer the questions, we did a interview study with 21 participants. Most of the participants some of the participants come from our personal connections, but most of them come from, we work with the National Federation of Blind. We send out a message to their mailing list. And we got a good amount of interest from participants who's willing to participate in our research. So the interview we focus on 4 aspects, with the baseline questions on their technology usage, and then we focus on understand the potential risks associated with the technology use, information-seeking behaviors, and their expectation of what we call a digital assistant. We frame it that way so that they can have something more tangible in their mind. And then the expectation of digital assistant to answer their privacy questions. I'm going to talk about the results, and then because of the time limit, I'm only going to focus on the second and third questions. And if you're interested in learning more about the data, then please feel free to go to our paper. So for the second research questions, we look at their existing information-seeking behaviors. And given the time limit, I'm only going to focus on 2 things in this talk. So the one thing we're curious about where do they actually go and find information? What's the information? What are the information sources? So we find a number of things. So for example, participants reported the various sources that they obtain data privacy information from. Reputable news outlets like TVs or radios or print news is being reported by a lot of participants, followed by a lot different kinds of online resources and interpersonal sources, which includes tech-savvy friends and technical experts in the BLV community. We also noticed that a third of our participants also obtain data privacy information from privacy policies, terms of uses, and user agreement. So this is interesting because we all know that privacy policy is extremely difficult to read. But in our results, we actually find that 17 out of 21 participants have read at least a few privacy policies. 15 participants consider the privacy policy as a credible source for data privacy information because they're the official disclosure of companies' data practices. So this demonstrates some unique values and needs of the BLV users, and I'll briefly touch on that towards the end of the talk. Another thing that I also want to focus on is about how do they accessing the credibility of the information source. So we find that participants, they believe that their trusted entities could provide relatively credible information, look at who actually provided the information. So that would include BLV organizations or entities. They also trust people who disseminated they develop this trust in people who disseminated the information, and then again they tend to believe tech-savvy friends or influencers in the blind community. And then another thing we also notice that they cross-check multiple sources to make sure that they're getting credible information. Then we move to the third research question. We're looking at their expectations of what should go into a digital assistant. And then I would also focus on two main aspects that were constantly brought up by our participants. So for tool, they expect to receive trusted privacy information, which is very much related to the second research question. And they also would like to receive neutral data privacy information that's not leaning towards either different parties. So we saw this, and then we are interested to explore the idea of trust and neutral. And then we're wondering how do we accomplish those goals from the participant's perspective. And then we dived into that, and we found the idea of trusted most often related to the information source, and the idea of being neutral related to who develops the tool. That's the two most significant factors we found. So in terms of what information is trusted, then we saw a couple types of information. For example, information from first-party companies. They know that the data practices. It's the official way, and then again through legal documents like privacy policies. Regulations is another type of information that's trusted, also reputable news articles. And then I want to draw the attention again on the two things I highlighted on the slide. One is about privacy policies. Again, that has been brought up again by our participants, many participants, as a way they can utilize to understand data privacy information. And then the first part and then the other thing I highlighted on the slide is about the information from first-party companies. So they consider that as information that's trusted. However, when we talk about who should build the tools to be neutral, and then we found that nonprofit or trusted third parties like, for example, Consumer Reports, or W3C, all those organizations who are consumer advocates, they are more trusted compared to first party and government. So first party, even though they can provide trusted information source, they're not able. They don't consider this as the one who's responsible for developing tools to help them navigating the data privacy information. Then so there's some other expectations of privacy tools, and we have a very detailed description in the paper. So here's some highlights, and then we do see a need for cross-platform tools that support multiple modalities, mostly voice and text. So basically, tools should not be only working on one device, should be working on different devices, and the idea of multiple modalities to support people with different kinds of disabilities. And then we also notice something we call modality consistency, which refers to participants' preference to receive answers in the same modality as they ask the questions. And then all participants mentioned that any tool that would build to help them with the privacy needs should be accessible by default. So now, if we go back to the original questions of our motivations, can we make the data privacy information more accessible? Can we build accessible tools? Then we see a path. So here's some lessons learned to achieve that. we don't make assumptions about what they need, because we did notice that we did notice similar and different information behaviors than studied user. For example, they face the same usability challenges of privacy policy, but a lot of our participants are more patient with privacy policy. They actually read that. And then tools should be accessible by default. And then we have been consistently seeing the role of trust in our data set in the different stages. So we want to see any tool should prioritize building trust, and then identify suitable stakeholders to collaborate. For example, trustworthy third-party companies like organizations like Consumer Report or other ways. And then at the end, we also want to suggest that for any tools that should leverage credible resources and then consider support the verification mechanisms. So with that, I'll conclude the talk, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much.